A major theme in the earlier stories in Evolve 2 is the high price of intimacy in a self-destructive or criminal subculture. There are certain people who are elite or insiders, who are vampires or allied with them, who have relationships with each other on which they place a very high importance, but which also destroy themselves or others. In order to be part of a group, to be on the list, to be included, to be recognized, there might be a high price for entering the group. You might have to bite someone or kill someone. And there are a lot of peer pressures inside the group to behave in self-destructive or other destructive ways. So there's this potential thrill, I guess, for the people involved, being part of a select subculture that makes its own rules and does things that aren't in the general interest of society and seems to get away with it. But ultimately, I think when you read the stories in Evolve 2, the characters for the most part don't get away with it. They pay a very high price for it. And they can get exposed at any time. So the people who were once part of this seemingly special, elite, criminal subclass can suddenly become ordinary and suffer the same old miseries as everybody else. And even have a sort of intimacy with other people in that way, but it's an intimacy that's dependent upon suffering and self-destructive behavior.
The idea that a greenhouse stays warm because it traps outgoing radiation is something that was experimentally disproved by a man named Wood in 1909. But that experimental data is not something that's very well publicized. Along with this goes the idea that the presumed greenhouse effect must be real because so many people say that it is. This is an unscientific argument for merit by popularity. The truth may not be something that gets well marketed at any one time. There may just not be enough money behind it to drive the acceptance in the media and the acceptance by the public. So much of what we see depends on how much money has been put behind a marketing effort and has nothing to do with the inherent artistic or scientific value of the argument being presented. This may be true because of disparities in marketing, but it can also occur with no disparities in marketing whatsoever. There are some really strange examples today of viral videos on YouTube that anybody can see. Some of them just seem to have no artistic value at all, and were produced with no budget even, and yet get truly astounding numbers of hits, while other things which have had a lot of labor put into them and are presumed by the few people who've seen them to be excellent examples of artistic merit are getting virtually no response at all. So the idea that just because a lot of people say something's true or believe that something is true, then it must be true, is itself false. Some traditionally religious people don't like biological evolution and have tried to have it removed from school curricula. But alternatively religious people who don't like geological evolution, natural change in the Earth's climate, have been far more effective at having their authoritative anti-evolutionary doctrines imposed on others.
Virtually anyone who genuinely discovers something has to deal with a fair amount of emotional pain and fear of being ostracized by other people. People are largely motivated by the satisfaction they get from experiences shared with others during the formation and continuation of relationships. And to have those relationships potentially all torn away because of the implications of a discovery is something that's quite difficult to deal with. So the process of learning and discovering, as shown by the Holy Grail story, I think, largely has to do with not just whether a potential for discovery and advancement and healing is available, but whether the person trying to embrace those potentially healthy changes can form a relationship while doing so. So the fear is that, yes, I could be healthier or live longer or learn something, but maybe I'll be cast out of my social group for doing so. And this is a difficult step for people to take, regardless of whether they're scientists or not, especially if you're going to be cast out of your perceived community of scientists for putting out a potential discovery or debunking one that was false. There's a certain amount of pain relief and feeling of safety inherent in going along with the established view, even though it might have been overall, and then over the long term, a very unhealthy one to hold. People can continue pretending that there's nothing wrong with the generally accepted view and get temporary pain relief or a feeling of at least being in the herd.
When they act with a herd mentality, though, people can end up doing very dangerous things and losing their capacity to think rationally. It may be comforting to be part of the herd, even in a sense when it starts to stampede or get driven over a buffalo jump.